Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast with Don and Suzanne Manning.
A podcast where we share with you great insights about everything family from over 30 years of parenting 7 kids and over a decade of equipping parents through our Crazy Cool Family ministry.
So let us inspire and equip you to build your best family. Okay, Crazy Cool Family. I'm so excited to share with you my new best friend, Crystal Paine. We found her, our team found her, and I absolutely love her. And she's all about saving money. Crystal, tell my people about you and how amazing you are.
Well, I am honored to be here. I have 6 kids, ages almost 21 down to 3. And so life is never dull at our house. And my husband and I live in the Nashville, Tennessee area. And I am a writer, a speaker, a podcaster, a blogger. I have the privilege of getting to be the CEO of a small company. Never set out to do that. We have a small team of 15 and just get to do it in the cracks of time in between taking care of my family, which is my primary responsibility and priority.
Absolutely. And so, and yeah, she's doing so much. And so I just want to share this. I'm going to share this video with you right now. She's got a Black Friday playbook that's absolutely amazing that you guys are going into the holidays. You have to go get it. How can they get this? And then we'll talk about other things they can get to, but how do they get that?
Yes. So if you just go to moneysavingmom.com, right at the top of the page, you can sign up. Through the end of November, it will be there, and it's just a freebie. We want to help you to save money, to set yourself up for success, and so that you can enjoy the holiday season and not be stressing over finances or just feeling like you have so much to do.
Amen, sister. Amen. And so as I did kind of a deep dive on Crystal, I went to her website, which you guys, you must do that. As soon as you get off of this podcast, go to moneysaving.com and see all of her different deals. I mean, there are several that I'm going to click on as soon as you and I finish recording that are just amazing. So I'm excited about that. And I want you to tell me a little bit about how you got into it. But before I do that, I felt like as I was praying for us to talk today, I felt like the Lord brought Proverbs 31 to mind and the wife of noble character. And to me, that's who you are. That's what you're doing. And you're going out and you're teaching it to other moms too. It says, part of it says that she is like the merchant ships bringing her food from afar. And as I see all the different deals that you've gathered and collected and are presenting to us, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for representing the wife of noble character to this generation of moms.
I love what I do. I love getting to help women. My husband and I, part of our story is just that we started out our marriage with this goal of staying out of debt. And we didn't know how we were going to do that because he was getting ready to go to law school and we had money set aside for law school, but we didn't know how we were going to actually eat and have a roof over our head. And so by learning how to keep our grocery budget really low, getting really creative and how to maximize the mileage of our money, we were able to go through law school. We stayed out of debt. And then we actually were able to pay cash for our first house and about 5 years later, and just so many different things. But really my heartbeat is to help women that, here are some really tangible things that you can do to help your family's finances.
Oh, I absolutely love that. It goes back. And once again, her husband has full confidence in her. How amazing. What a blessing you are to your husband, to your marriage, that you have taken the worldly possessions, if you will, and if you've managed them to be a blessing to you. I absolutely love that. Okay, so confession. I do not do coupons well. And I would say that my excuse is time. I don't have time for that. I just I'm here at the store. I need to grab it and I need to go. How have you have the same life I have. I'm further down the road, but how have you managed to do that? To have 6 kids and all their activities and all their events in life and do the deals that you do and find the things and use the coupons, and Help the mom who feels like she's drowning.
Well, that's really what we hope to do with moneysavingmom.com, is really that you don't have to go out and try to find the deals. We want to source them for you and tell you, like, here, for instance, this week, it's like, here are the things that you can get at Walgreens this week. Click this button, click this coupon, put this literally in your cart. You can do the great thing with so many stores now is you don't even have to go into the store. Like Walgreens, CVS, Target, and Kroger affiliates, Walmart. You can actually do store pickup or even delivery, and you're still gonna be able to get all of the deals. And so that's really what we want to share with people, is that there are many, many ways to save that don't involve clipping coupons. I don't clip coupons. The only coupons that I clip are digital coupons in an app. And so I don't mess with any paper coupons. I don't really think it's worth messing with paper coupons anymore. I think it's just, there's so many digital coupons, and really thinking about, my thing is to encourage people, think about, time is money. And so give yourself an hourly wage. So how much, let's say you are working, how much would you want to be making per hour? So maybe it's at least $15 or $20 an hour. Maybe it's higher than that, depending upon where you are in life. But if the thing that you're doing to save money is not saving you at least $15 to $20 per hour, it's not worth your time. And so to start analyzing what you're doing and picking and choosing the things that are going to work for your family, and that might be shopping at multiple stores and getting great deals. Or that might be that you're going to put that into a side business that's going to bring in more income. Or that might be that you're just going to simplify your life and you're not going to pay for certain things that a lot of people pay for, so just figuring out what works for your family, but really thinking of the return on your investment of time.
Oh, that's so good. So I'm glad that you brought that up about time, for sure. How much time would a busy mom, how much time should she invest in on your website, your information that's going to, does that make sense? How much time should she look at? 10 minutes a day, an hour? What is the time parameter, I guess, to give them, to help us moms realize that we think it's a big amount of time, but it's actually not at all?
When you're first learning something, it's going to take more time. So let's say, for instance, that you're going to learn how to play the drugstore game, which is like Walgreens and CVS. You can buy things every week to get rebates and then use those rebates to pay for things the next week that produce rebates. And so you're paying very little out of pocket. To learn that, it's a little bit like a foreign language. And so you have to think of it in that context of, you're not going to go in and know exactly how to do it. I actually, to be fully transparent, for years did the drugstore game. Like, I was hardcore drugstore game. And then the last 10 years of my life, there's been a lot that has gone on. And I took a step back and I was like, that's not worth my time right now, because I need to be investing my time in other places. Well, just in the last few months, a lot of things have changed in my life. So now I have more space to be able to do that again. And I'm so excited. But last week was my first week to go back to Walgreens, and things have changed a little bit. And I thought, I've done this before, and I messed some things up. And so, it is a learning curve. And so I encourage people, don't feel frustrated and don't try to overhaul your grocery budget overnight. So for instance, Walgreens last week, I was like, I'm going to spend less than $20 and I'm going to try to get at least $10 back. Like, that was my goal. And so you don't want to go in and spend $50. Like, start small. Maybe you start with $5 or $8 and you do that. And so that's how I recommend learning. And so as far as the time investment, you have to decide what works for you. But I would say pick one area that you're going to work on. And if you haven't started with anything, like you're like, we don't have a grocery budget, we don't even, we're just so overwhelmed, I would say start with a menu plan. Like, just start with a menu plan. Don't even worry about a grocery budget right now. We're just going to start with having a plan for what you're going to eat, because right there, you're going to feel more order in your life. You're going to feel more intentional, and you're probably going to save money, because if you have a plan for what you're going to eat, there's a much better chance that you're actually going to eat at home, which is almost always going to save you money. So start with a menu plan. Keep it really simple. You could have, where it's like, Mondays we do soup. Tuesdays, we do a crock pot meal. Wednesdays, we always do sandwiches. Thursdays, we do Mexican. Like, just have
Right.
a very, very simple plan. You don't have to overcomplicate it. You can even go to ChatGPT. I love ChatGPT for menu planning, because you can go and you can say, hey, plan a menu for me that is ingredients at Aldi that is about $150, and here's some
Wow.
things we already have on
Like
hand.
can't do cheese or can't do gluten or can't,
Yes,
wow, put your
put
parameters in
all of
there.
that in there. And usually it'll give you a menu that you're like, there's a few things on there. And I'll say, like, take out the mushrooms, take out the whatever, and then it'll give you another menu plan. But it's going to save you so much time. It's like, just use what is already out there. Don't try to recreate the wheel. And so, and
So
then you can
good.
tell ChatGPT, you can say, okay, now create me a grocery list. And then you can say, create it by aisle of the store. It can be super, super helpful. And so honestly, in 15 minutes, you could have a menu plan for the week that's based upon what your family eats, what your allergens are, and what you
Wow.
already have in your cupboard. Okay, so start with that. Start simple. And then after you have felt like, okay, I'm getting the menu plan, maybe we've been doing this for 2 months, it's working
Yeah.
really well, then the next step I would say is, now I want you to have a grocery budget. So you're not gonna, again, we're not gonna say, okay, we're gonna cut our grocery budget, and we're only gonna spend $100 a week for our family of 5. Like, let's start with something that's very realistic, because the goal is that you're going to slowly whittle it down, but we want to keep it simple. So I would say $50 per person per week. So $50 per person in your family
Oh, that's
per week.
good. That's good.
That. And now if you have pets, you're going to probably have to add on some more. If you have babies that you're buying formula for, that you're buying diapers for, you have special sorts of things, you might raise it even more than that. But start with something that feels like we could actually do that does not feel stressful, that feels doable. And then the goal would be to whittle that down. Once you've stuck with that consistently for, again, like another month or two, whittle it down by 1 to 3% every month. Now you're like, 1 to 3%, that's not much. That's, I want to save money right now. But here's the thing, slow and steady is what is going to be so much more successful over time. And so
Yeah.
1 to 3% over the course of 10 months, that starts really adding up. And then I want you to get to the place where you feel like, I'm being challenged to think outside the box, but I'm not being stressed by this number. And so then you can also start implementing different things, like the drugstore game, or you're like, I'm going to learn how to make all of my bread homemade, or we're not going to buy store-bought snacks. You pick the area that then you can always be learning and growing and
I
challenging
love
yourself,
it.
and just continuing to work on having a great grocery budget that feeds your family well, that is not stressful, but is able to really save your family money as well.
I love that. I love baby steps. That's what you're giving us. So start with the menu planning. And do you have something on your website for menu planning? Do you have?
We do. So we actually have a 10-week menu plan that you can buy that is some of our very favorite. So it's menu plans, grocery list, all of that. But you don't have to buy it. You can go to ChatGPT and do that. Or the other thing that we have on our site is that my older sister and I, so she has 5 that she's feeding right now. And then our family, we have 7 that we're feeding because our oldest daughter is away at college. And we do our menu plans every week. So we show our grocery shopping trips and our menu plans. So you can get some great ideas from that as well. And then we also have free menu plan downloads. And then we have a free 1-week menu plan. Another thing that we have that's been super, super popular is we have this cheat sheet that is 60 meals to make when you want to get takeout. And I recommend that everybody just print it out, put it on your fridge, put it in your cupboard, so that, on those nights when you're like, I forgot to take the meat out of the freezer, what are we going to do? I guess we're going to have to order pizza. You can open up your cupboard and you can look at that sheet, and there's 60 ideas for you. You're not going to have the ingredients for all of them, but I promise you, you will have the ingredients for some of them, and it'll just kind of help you to be like, oh, I could put that together in 15 minutes, and then dinner's done and we didn't have to get takeout.
I love that. Moneysavingmom.com, guys. Are you hearing that? She's just got all these hacks. All right, this is so good. What I was saying is baby steps, menu planning first, and then budgeting. What else? What else can you tell us? What else is that wisdom that you can share?
Yes. So when it comes to like budgeting as a whole, so I always say
Yeah.
to start with your grocery budget, because everybody has to eat, everybody has to buy
Right.
groceries. Well,
Right.
once you've got that, then I really challenge you to start, okay, let's look at all areas of our budget. And if you have not ever sat down and really set up a budget, this can be hard. I talk to so many people who they feel scared. Like it's easier to just not look at the numbers. I was really surprised a few years ago. I was working on a project and I asked my audience, those of you who don't have a budget, why don't you have a budget? Like, be really honest with me.
Yeah.
And the number one reason people said was because they're too scared to look at the numbers. And I know that it can feel scary. It can feel overwhelming. You can feel like, well, I don't know how to do it. We have a free download on our site that is walking you through setting up your budget. So it is a spreadsheet basically, or checklist worksheet, whatever you want to call it. Very simple, but it's where we first talk about, what are your fixed expenses? And then what are
Yes.
your variable expenses?
Yeah.
And just going through the exercise of looking at, what you spent over the last few months and filling out that form to figure out, okay, what are your fixed expenses? What are your variable expenses? And then to start paying attention to, okay, how much am I bringing home and how much is going out? And this is going to take time. Again, it's like learning a foreign language. And so give yourself a lot of grace for this. Just that exercise can be hugely beneficial. And then you can start saying, okay, guess what? Like we have $500 going out more than we have coming in, and we have a problem. And so then we start looking at, okay, your variable expenses, what there can be changed. Maybe it's your grocery budget. Maybe it's that for a little while you are going to not eat out, or maybe it's that you're going to, cut some of your subscriptions or your memberships, or are there some areas in your life that you could just for a short term say, we're going to cut this down. And then the biggest thing is to really pay attention to, are you spending money on credit card, fees? Are you paying, for other people's money, as Dave Ramsey called it, but like, can you cut some areas so that you can pay down some of the debt so that you can get to a place where then you have extra wiggle room in your budget? And so just doing that audit of what is coming in, what is going out, what is an absolute necessity, what could we wait on for a little while, and that can make such a difference in just your day-to-day. Again, like you're talking about, it's those tiny baby steps. And one of the things that I really encourage people with is you're not stuck. Like you're never, ever, ever stuck. But if you think you are, then you are. But there's always something you can do, but you have to believe that you can. And so it really starts with that belief that you can. When my husband was in law school, we're living in this little basement apartment. We are on a total beans and rice budget. I mean, literally the only meat that we would buy was a bag of frozen chicken at Aldi we'd buy every other week. Every once in a while, pepperoni would go on sale for like 50 cents for a little thing, and we'd buy that to put on pizza too. But that was our budget. Was we had $30 a week to buy our groceries for all our meals. Some weeks we didn't even have $30. Like I would have to stretch $17. And I decided to choose to see it as a game, because I could have just felt
good.
Like this is overwhelming. We can't do this. There's no way. But instead I was like, you know what? This is a challenge, and I'm going to see it as a game. Like, how well can we eat on how little? And that's when I started learning so many of these things, because I decided to really look outside the box and think, okay, what can we do? What else is out there? What can I learn? Who can I learn from? And what are the possibilities? And then to just really start with that, instead of seeing like what I can't do, really ask yourself, what can I do?
That is so good, because that is my biggest pushback when it comes to budgeting, because I'm afraid if I was afraid that if I got the budget out there, then it was going to tell me all the things that I can't do. It was going to put me in a box, and that was not true. The reality is it actually gave me great freedom, because I knew the numbers, and so I could have my healthy or good, my best yes. Oh, I want to do that with this money, or I don't, wait a minute. I don't want to do that with my money. It really, really made me much more aware of what I was spending. And so even going out and shopping and gathering the things, it wasn't near as enticing, because I had the numbers in my head. And so it wasn't a threat anymore, if you will, or So that's so good to hear that it's not scary to know the
Yes,
numbers.
I love that you brought up that freedom and boundaries. And I think, we think of like when we're parenting our kids, if we were just like, you can do whatever you want, like that is a recipe for disaster. But we oftentimes will approach our money kind of like that because we're afraid to have those boundaries around our money. But I really see that there's that freedom that you talked about because budgeting doesn't mean that we live this miserly existence. For us, budgeting means like we are setting aside for giving. That's something that's super
Yeah.
important to us is we want to be givers and we want to be generous. And so that is the first line item in our budget, off the top that we're giving. And that budgeting allows us to prioritize that because
That's
if
good.
you waited until the end of the month, like whatever we have left, we're going to give that. There's probably going to not be much left, but
Right.
you start with your priorities. And so other priorities for our family experiences. Like we love taking our
Mhm.
kids on trips, and that is something that is a priority for our family. We've found some really creative ways to do that on very small budgets. And yet that's something that we prioritize because it is a value for our family. So a budget allows us to be able to prioritize that. And so instead of viewing it as like, it's this, this thing that's going to constantly strangle me, really seeing it as something that it's going to be a gift to us because it's
Yeah.
going to allow us to live within our priorities.
Ah, I love that. Yeah, instead of the flip that's happening in my brain right now is instead of saying I can't have that, replacing it with the game of what can I have? What do I want? Where can I save the money? What can I? And so it's just a flip. And so that's so good that you're leading the way and showing us how to do that. Okay, so you've written like 4,000 books. And so share some of those, share some books that I'd love to just know a couple titles, maybe the one that you loved writing the most, maybe, yeah, just so much. I don't even know how to make it smaller. So I'm going to give it to you and you share.
Okay, so the book that I loved writing the most, I feel like it was the book that wrote itself, is not about money. It's called Love Centered Parenting. And one of my
Oh,
passions, I have a lot of passions, which is a problem when you live in a, social media culture that's like, you need to have one specific niche or niche. I don't know how you pronounce it, but anyway, you need to have this like one lane. And I'm like, I have so many lanes. And so I'm just going to go with them. So Love Centered Parenting was a book that I wrote. A number of years ago, we went through a really, really hard season with one of our kids and really just hit rock bottom. And I
mm,
opened up the book with talking about walking into the emergency room and, saying my child's suicidal and just like what it was like to walk through this and watching our child spiral out and how God met me in that and how he used it to
so good.
for me to really relearn how to parent and completely change the way that I parented because I had to learn to be parented by my Heavenly Father. And so it's really
Mm,
not about so much about parenting our kids as it is about our hearts before the Lord. And the subtitle is Your No Fail Guide to Parenting because you can't fail as a parent when you understand how much you're loved by God because it's not about the results. It's about your relationship with your Heavenly Father. And
so
the
good.
more that I understood how much I was loved by God, then I was able to love my kids, my husband, everyone around me from that overflow. It's like a wellspring of love instead of me trying so hard to parent honestly for my reputation in front of others.
Yeah.
And so then I'm constantly, micromanaging and overprotecting and bubble wrapping and, just really parenting out of this fear and strangling my kids in the process because I'm constantly frustrated with them because they're not doing it how it's going to make me look good. And instead change to, you know what? I just want to love you and I want to walk with you and I want to parent you from that relationship. And what does that look like to have that love-centered parenting? And so that book is my favorite. And I actually have a freebie if people are interested. You're like, that is called 10 Days to Be a Happier Mom. And it's really, again, not so much about like
Right.
the momming part. It's really about our hearts before the Lord, about the
Mm,
lies that we believe and how so often we live under them and lead with them, and what it looks like to actually step into the truth that sets you free and then to live out of that. And it's not just going to change your parenting, it's going to change every single area of your life.
your relationships. That's what we talk about at Crazy Cool Family. We talk about pursuing God, building relationships, and creating culture. And I
Mhm.
love that you said 10 days, 10 days to basically rearrange how you think about being a mom. And I think as moms, we're thinking, I can't take on anything else. But for 10 days, I can do something. And so, yes, go to moneysavingmom.com and it's a free download. I love that. So working on our role as a mom, which I think is the highest calling that God gives us, to be able to grow babies, to adopt babies, to raise children, to train them up in the way that they should go. And so I love it that the Lord has blessed you with a journey that was hard and that you had to do hard things, because out of it was birthed a book and a wisdom and a truth and an insight that you get to share with other moms.
And the coolest thing about it is, so our older kids are almost 21, 18, and 16. And then we experienced secondary infertility. And so we had 10 years of secondary infertility. And that book was born out of that season. And we never expected, because we did all of the fertility testing, and they were like, you aren't even candidates for IVF. Like, there's nothing that we can do. And so we ended up pursuing foster care. And we then, to make a long story short, said yes. And in the process, the very last week of our home study, I started feeling all these weird things, and I realized I was 2 weeks late, and I was like, I think I'm going through early menopause. My husband was like, you need to call the OB, but you know what they're going to ask? Have you taken a pregnancy test? So he runs out to CVS to get a pregnancy test, brings it home. I take this pregnancy test, and the thought is really never in my mind, like, there's like ain't going to be anything. Like, I pee on the stick, and I wasn't even like, I was just like, okay, I did my thing. And then it's one of those that it's the digital kind, which I hadn't taken those back in the day. And
Yeah.
immediately it says pregnant. And I was like, I bet the digital ones, it takes a little while for the knot to show up. So I kept waiting for the knot to show up. Anyway, so we find out that we are expecting, and we continue on the foster care journey, and we had some short-term placements, and then we said yes to a sweet little boy who is tiny, teeny, from the NICU. He came to live with us about 4 to 5 weeks, not exactly sure, before I had our biological daughter. So in 2020, we had 2 newborns, and then we went back
And
to
one special needs.
he had medical complexities. And then he went back with his mom after 8.5 months, reunified. Beautiful, beautiful story of just getting to see redemption. And he's almost 6 years old now and thriving. We still have a relationship with him. We've gotten to be involved in his life. But 3 months after we said he went back with his mom, we said yes to a little boy in the middle of the night who has Down syndrome, cleft lip, palate. He had a feeding tube, was just very, very malnourished, had been born at 27 weeks, and just came to us in a very, very, he was so sick when he came to us. And we never expected that we were going to adopt him. Like, that was not part of the story. But 6 months later, through a lot of different things, I write about it in my book, The Time Saving Mom, but he was our friends that we thought were going to adopt him. They said to us, they're like, we really feel like you guys are called to adopt him. And that was never even on our radar. And so we prayed about it, and God did a lot of work in our heart. And we said yes to adopting him, and worked through all of the long-term caregiving, and he's going to be the caboose, and what's this going to look like and everything. And then 4 weeks later, I found out I'm pregnant again. And so all that to say, God gave us these 3 kids, and then 10 years of secondary infertility, and then we get to do it again with 3. Now we have their 5, 5, and 3. And just the gift of getting to parent in a different way. And never would have envisioned it. And God's just changed my heart so much. And also, having a child who has significant disabilities really changes your perspective on things, because instead of that being a mess on the floor, like the first time he went in the bathroom and got into the toilet paper and ripped it all up, I was thrilled, because I was like, look at the OT and the PT skills that are required to do that, And
Yes.
It's your perspective that you just celebrate what you once would have been really frustrated by.
I love that. And so you mentioned the title of another book, Time Saving Mom. That was birthed out of all of this. And so it makes complete sense. Like, I know that I've got moms listening thinking, wow, I thought my life was crazy. I thought I had a lot going on. I've got 3, 4, 5 kids, and so tell me a little bit about the Time Saving Mom, because I feel like that's going to resonate with a lot of our moms too. They're going to be like, wait a minute, if she can write a book in the midst of all that, then God has given her a message that's worth me, to learn and know.
Yes. So that book, I'm very passionate about it as well. But it was so funny because I'd said yes to writing it when we thought that we were going to be our sweet little boy that we were fostering, who has all the disabilities. We thought he was going to be moving to the other family to be adopted. So I had said yes to writing it, thinking, we're going to be in the season where then I'm only going to have one small child and 3 teenagers. And that feels crazy easy compared to what the last year and a half had been. So I was like, sure, yes, I can do that. And really the topic of living intentionally and just thinking in light of eternity, like that is something that since the time I've been little has just been a heartbeat of mine, of just really thinking what's going to matter at the end of my life. And I talk about that in the book. And so it was a natural fit for me to write, but I did not know that in the middle of writing it, I was going to actually have to truly live out the principles, because I think it was like 4 weeks into writing it was when we found out, oh, he's not going to be moving to this other family. We're going to be adopting him. So he's going to be with us forever. And that changes a lot of things because he has a lot of needs. And then also finding out I was pregnant. And so I wrote this book my last pregnancy was really, really hard. Lots of bleeding, I ended up in the hospital, like just a lot. It was a very challenging pregnancy. And it was like God was just saying, do you trust me? Like, do you believe that what you say in this book is true? Because I wrote it in like 5 to 15 minutes. I mean, little 5 to 15-minute pockets of time. I never had this like big, long space of time to write it. It was just these tiny little snippets of time. In fact, when I sat down to record the audiobook, it was the first time that I had read the whole book through. And I was like, I don't even know. Like it's to the printers at this point. I'm like, Jesus, please make it that the words make sense, because I don't even know, but it was just the last chapter in the book I call it the chapter I never expected to write. And it was literally about, having to walk out these principles and how they played out in when your life is turned upside down. But the number one principle in that book is to start your day with prayer. And for me, that is just, I feel like so often we want all of the like practical, tell me how, and what does your priorities list look like? And what is your to-do list? And how do you plan your week? And how do you plan your day? And how do you plan your month? All of that, which I talk about in the book. But I start with prayer, because I think when we start from that space of my day is God's, and I can trust him. I mean, we had this thing last week when we tried to record this, where technology was just not in our favor. And it was one of those, I just had to be like, okay, God, like, I trust you for this, that this is 30 minutes that you are just calling me to be present here. And I got to have the greatest conversation with you, and I loved it. And I told my husband afterwards, I was like, I didn't record a podcast, but I had a great conversation. It was so fantastic. And so really starting your day, I pray over the facets of my day. So like pray over, like I knew I was going to have this interview. I had other things this morning, other things tonight, and like whatever's weighing heavy on my heart, just really praying and giving it to God and asking God to multiply my time, multiply my energy, multiply my sleep, multiply, the strength, and give me words, give me love, whatever it is that I need. And then also praying for my people, like every single one of my kids and my husband and the business, and just really praying over it and just giving it to the Lord. And the thing that happens when you do that is you're not carrying it on your own anymore. And then you get to eagerly anticipate God showing up in your day, and you're going through your day looking for God's faithfulness. And when you're going through your day, you ask for it and you're expecting it. Oh, you're going to see it. And that is the coolest place to be. I mean, I will tell you a story this morning, because I think this is important for moms. If they've heard this and they're like, sometimes you can put people up on a pedestal. So I just want to knock myself down off that pedestal. I had signed up to, it's Parent Teacher Appreciation Week at one of my kids' schools, and I had signed up to be like a classroom monitor for an hour so the teacher could go out and have just a break. And I was like, I need to get there a little bit early because I want to go over things with the teacher. And I had had my gifts ready for the teachers, and I was like feeling really good about this morning. Like I had gotten myself together to get out the door. We were going to be on time, just barely, but we were going to be on time. And so I get out to the car, and all of a sudden I realize I have 7 miles of gas left in my car. It literally says 7 miles. And I was like, yesterday I remembered that I needed to get gas, and then I totally forgot. And I'm like, okay, maybe if I run in and I like on the way get, 2 minutes, like I can, get like basically $2 worth of gas. I can like zip into the gas station and get that and zip out. Like, I think we can still be there on time. Like, I think I've got like 3 minutes to do that. So then there's bad traffic. And then I finally get to the gas station. I'm like, there's no way. Like, maybe we'll make it there like by 8 o'clock. We're not going to be on time, but we'll be there. It'll be okay. Then I get to the gas station, and then I pull in, and then when I go to pull out, there was all this traffic and I could not turn onto the road. Like, there was just so much traffic. So then I had to backtrack and go where there was a traffic light to be able to turn. Yeah. And so by the time I got to school, like, we were 5 minutes late, and I'm thinking, I'm, literally in my head having to like preach the truth to myself of, yes, it would have been great for you to plan ahead, but you forgot. It is okay. And here was the beautiful thing. Like this morning, praying over my day, and then just entrusting this and being like, okay, God, this is out of my control. Like, I did the best. I did my best, and I'm going to trust you.
That's good.
And I'm just like, please help this not to be something that is really hard for the teacher or causing a big problem for, the situation.
Yeah.
I knew all the kindergartners. I was doing kindergarten. They were supposed to be in chapel. And I was like, I'm just picturing them there in chapel by themselves, or whatever, or the teacher having to like be in chapel too. And I get there, and like, they welcome me in, and the teacher, I said, I'm so sorry. She's like, oh, it's no big deal at all. And like, I go in there, and the kindergartners are just like sitting in this perfect little row, and there's my chair, and I sit down, and like, we just had the best hour. And, it was like God saying to me, like, I see you. And even when you mess up, like, I love you. And like, tangibly for like multiple, like the headmaster came over to me and he was like, thank you so much for coming today. And instead of them seeing me as like this hot mess woman who's like, right. Like, no, I see you. I love you. And like, it was just a reminder to me of God's faithfulness and God's goodness. And that even when I fall short, like, he will pick up the pieces and he will carry me, and that I can rest in him and trust in him instead of beating myself up. And by the way, when I put the $2 worth of gas in my car, it did not register. So my car literally, I've never had this happen before. It was dashes. Like, it said there was no gas in my car. And somehow I drove for 7 minutes with no gas in my car. So again, I was
there you go.
We can't run out of gas. So can you please help us just get there? Because I'm picturing like we run out of gas and then we have to walk the rest of the way. Anyway, just encouragement to moms. I think so often we beat ourselves up and we get so frustrated with ourselves. And, it's like, we all are going to make mistakes. We all are going to forget things. And that's where there's Jesus. Like, if we were perfect, we wouldn't need Jesus. And so I'm just grateful that he is there for me on those days when I don't remember to get gas, and that I can trust him. And that, it's also a reminder to be kind and compassionate and have grace for other people too, because they're trying hard as well.
Because they might not have gas either.
That's right.
Oh, I love it. See, Crazy Cool People, isn't she amazing? Don't you want her to be your new best friend too? Tell our people, as we wrap this up, tell our people how they can get more of Crystal, more of Money Saving Mom. Where's all the places to connect?
So the best place to connect with me personally, so my podcast is called The Crystal Paine Show. And I do, so we do it kind of differently. My husband and I do an episode every other week where we just sit down and we talk about like what's going on in our life. I just had parasites. So our next episode is going to be all about the parasites that I got in India. And then every other week I interview a guest, and I just love having conversations with people who really can just challenge you. And so that's the Crystal Paine
Good.
Show. And then my Instagram is the Money Saving Mom. And I share a lot of behind the scenes and more real life stuff on there. And then if you want all the money saving stuff and the deals, that's moneysavingmom.com. And we also have a Facebook page that is very active, and that's Money Saving Mom on Facebook. And then we have an Instagram account just for deals that's called MSM Deals.
Wow, all the things. Do you have a subscription for them to join, or do you have I guess they'll find out different things on how
Yes,
they want to.
everything is free. We keep it like that. I do teach. I on the side. I love teaching women how to make money, and that's a passion of mine. And so
Okay.
I have an Instagram called WAHM Coach, so Work at Home Mom Coach, and I have some different classes. Like I'm doing a coaching right now that is on how to make money with affiliate marketing, and so I offer some different things through there. But we don't have any paid subscriptions because we just love to keep it all free for people. So
Absolutely. And then they can buy the things that they're interested in without having to blanket buy all the things. I absolutely love it. Okay, well, I have so enjoyed visiting with you. If you were to leave one thing, we just said so many things to all these moms, but if we were to just leave one thing as they get off the podcast for them to resonate, for them to ponder in their mind, what would be the one thing that you would want to say?
all of the saving money stuff is great, but I think the most important thing is to remember Emmanuel, God with us. I think so often we can get so busy in our day and we can forget that we have God with us. Like if you are a child of God, you have God's spirit in you. My business coach, Allie Worthington, she says you're supercharged with superpowers that you can do superhuman things because you have God's spirit in you. So you do not need to white knuckle your way through life on your own. You can tap into the power of God's spirit in you. And so stop trying to do it all on your own. Just open up your hands, ask for God to walk with you, and He sees you. He loves you. He wants to be, show His faithfulness and strong and mightiness on your behalf. If you will just but look up instead of looking around at everything, look up to Him and put your eyes on Him.
I absolutely love that. I love that. And I got this vision as you were talking to just kind of wrap it all up. We talked about, budgeting and buying things and stuff like that. The best way to incorporate God into your daily life is that practical. It's in your hands and you're thinking, I want this. If you just say, God, should I get this? Is this now? Should I pray this amount for it? Because God, He knows. And so He wants to meet us right there where we are in our decisions and in our choices. And so that's the best way to just bring God into the daily is in your practical things. Just stop and ask Him. Just ask, what do you think? What should I do? Should I do this? Is it a yes or a no? And God's so faithful and He's so precious and so sweet to meet us in the details of our life. Mm-hmm. And He wants to say yes, or He wants to say no. That's not, and it's just, I just am just so delighted when I pursue the Lord and He's there and then He answers my ridiculous detailed question. I just am like, wait, the God of the universe cares if I buy a new flat iron or not? How cool is that? And so anyway, I just want to incorporate that. So thank you so much, Crystal. You're absolutely amazing. Like I said, you're a living current day Proverbs 31 woman, and I love it. I love that you're out there. I love that you hear God's voice and that you are writing it down and you're leading the way for other moms to follow. And so I know I've said it 47 times, but moneysavingmom.com, you guys have got to go check it out, all the different things. So we love you. Thank you very much. And we say to end our podcast, go be crazy, crazycoolfamily.com.